and welcome to the MBDA Virtual Substance Sandwiches webinar. My name is Gabriela Zambrana and I'm the director of the Houston MBDA Business Center. This is our 6th year of offering substance sandwiches and our 5th year with the Houston Independent School District. During today's webinar, attendees will be in the listen-only mode. There will be a Q&A session at the end of today's call. My colleague, Mark Craig, is going to monitor the Q&As. If you have any questions during the presentation, you may submit it online by entering the Q&A panel. As a reminder, this presentation is being recorded. Now I would like to introduce my colleagues, Mark Craig and Dieter Sutton, Business Advisor, and our Office Manager, Jessica Vasquez. Our next MBDA event is Virtual Substance Sandwiches with AT&T and the Beck Group. It will be held on Wednesday, August 19, 2020, beginning at 11:30 a.m. We will learn about the Beck Group and its collaboration with AT&T. Today, we have the pleasure to meet with HISD, and this is how the event will go. Houston Independent School District will introduce themselves and then make a presentation. Then we'll break it to questions and answer. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jasenia Taylor. Jasenia.
Hello, good morning. I hope everybody is doing well and staying safe. My name is Jasenia Taylor. I am the General Manager for Business Solutions with Houston Independent School District. So that includes Supplier Diversity and the Risk Management Department. Next slide, Gabriela, please. A little bit about the district at a glance. I'm not going to read all of these facts, but a lot of you are probably familiar that the district is one of the largest school districts in the state of Texas. And it covers a wide range of real estate. We have over 210,000 students that we support, as well as 29,000 staff members that are part of the Houston Independent School District. We're also wrapping up a $1.89 billion bond program that's currently going on and it's stages. So next slide. So a little bit about supplier diversity. This department, in my opinion, is a great department. What we do is we serve as advocates for fair and equal opportunities for the participation of MWBE firms. So Houston ISD has a minority and women-owned business program in place. It's what was established by our Board of Education. It's a little bit different from what you would see in different programs. When we're looking at certifications, which we're going to get into in a slide further on, we're going to be talking about the different certifications that we accept. But we are here to increase and utilize MWBE firms in as many HISD projects as possible. Next slide, please. A little bit more about the program. So what we do is when securing MWBE participation, we help in looking at project needs. We do a lot of networking opportunities. We host workshops, how to do business with HISD, information sessions. You can find us at a lot of outreach events. We also provide technical assistance. So if you're bidding projects, you can reach out to our department directly regarding our paperwork. That's what we're there to help you understand that process and how to fill it out correctly. So our department also oversees the payment monitoring system. So if you are a subcontractor to a prime who was awarded, we make sure that they're inputting their spend, that as a subcontractor you're getting paid. And then we also provide overall participation reports, so we're able to see where the percentages and subcontracting is within the district. Next slide. A little bit about the certifications that we accept at HISD. So we talked a little bit before about the district having a minority and women-owned business program. So it's very specific. When we're looking at who's certified, we're looking at these 3 certifications that you're seeing on the screen. So the ones that we accept include the City of Houston, the MBE and WBE only, the National Minority Supplier Development Council or local affiliate, as well as the Women's Business Enterprise National Council or local affiliate. So when you're looking at subcontracting opportunities, if you're bidding a project as a prime, or if you're a subcontractor that wants to partner with a prime, these are the ones that we're accepting. So when you're looking at meeting MWBE goals, you would have to be certified with one of these agencies. You don't have to be certified to do business with the district, but if you are subcontracting, these are the ones that we accept. And this one's a very important slide because we get a lot of questions in regards to certifications. So we do not accept HUB, DBE, SBA certifications. We're very strict on the 3 that we accept, and that's because our program is minority and women-owned business. Next slide, please. Certified MWBE, so we add this so that people understand what the value in being certified. I already mentioned that you don't necessarily have to be certified to do business with the district. However, this is just a little bit of additional information. So as a certified MWBE, you can self-perform, and then there's this subcontracting opportunity. So when you're looking at doing business, let's say that as a certified MWB company, maybe you're not large enough, or you don't have the right bonding or insurance, so you're not comfortable bidding as a prime. That's where these subcontracting opportunities come in. So you can partner up with a prime contractor, and between both of you decide and come to an agreement on the percentage and scope of work that you want to provide to them. So if a contract is $100,000 or $1 million and you agree to subcontract at 10% or 20 or 25, that's a piece of the pie, if you will. So that's important. Also, if you're certified and a prime is looking for subcontractors, maybe they're not familiar with who's certified and who's not, they are more than welcome to contact our office. And what we do is we ask them to provide the NAICS codes or the NFIP codes. And what they'll do is provide us the list of supplier diversity, and we pool the certified MWBEs based on those codes from all 3 agencies. So we provide a complete list, and then it's up to the prime to look at that list and decide if they're going to move forward with subcontracting or who they move forward with. In addition, being certified gives you a great network. There's a lot of business opportunities, networking opportunities, expos that you can participate in that we encourage people to attend. And then, of course, the MWB assistance. So we're here to help you if you have any questions along the way. Next slide. Okay, so a little bit about our goals. These are the current goals that we have in place. So if you are bidding a construction project or a purchasing project for products, the goal is at 20%. So that's anything that goes out to bid over 50,000, the goal is set at 20%. If you're looking at something that's a professional services contract or bid, the goal is 25% on those. Some helpful information that I'm going to go over. Some of this, you're not going to get too much detail because after me is Enrique, and he really has the information as far as purchasing services, but we work very closely with purchasing services. So it's important that all the vendors understand that all expenditures over the 50,000 in the aggregate district-wide must be competitively bid. So we are a very large district. It's very rare that you have those smaller projects. So it's likely that your product or service falls within a bid that's already existing within the district. So we just need to find out where it's at and when it goes out to bid. Also, you must be an approved vendor to do business with the district. And Enrique will get more into detail, but this is a question that we get all the time. How do I become a vendor? How do I know if I'm approved? So we just want people to understand, if you're an approved vendor, you'll understand because you'll have a contract, you'll have a vendor number, and you will be able to do business. The one thing that we say is if you're not an approved vendor, you don't want to provide products or services because then that goes into your payment. But again, Enrique will speak more to that. Attending pre-bids, we always encourage people to attend pre-bids. You want to go to the pre-bids because that's your opportunity as an MWBE to network. It's to get to know the primes who are there. Let them know about your product or service. Tell them who you're certified with. Make that connection so that they understand that you can help them reach their goal. Not only is that a networking opportunity, but you also get the opportunity to ask questions, to meet with the purchasing specialist and the end user. So these are the people that really drive the project, that understand the scope of work and can truly answer these questions. So it's a great opportunity to build those relationships with not only HISD employees, but also potential primes that are bidding our projects at the district. The last point on here is certified MWBE information to vendors. So again, that's just to reiterate that when a vendor is looking for subcontractors, they do have the opportunity to reach out to our department if they give us the codes, and then we turn over a complete list. So if you are certified with the City of Houston or with HMSDC or WBEA, what we'll do, if you fall under that code that was requested, you'll automatically be put into that list. Next one. Okay. So this slide is very important. We include it because it's the 5 biggest mistakes that we see when people are doing RFPs with the district. So it's important to understand that it's not easy, especially if you're a first timer bidding a project. So we want to make sure that everybody reads the entire proposal. It's going to tell you exactly what the district is looking for. So you want to make sure that you read the entire proposal so that you're not skipping or leaving out necessary information, such as signing, not signing a document, not completing it. Also, something that we see that's very common is not submitting the specific number of requests or copies. So if they're asking for 4 PDF versions or 4 flash drives with document A, B, and C, it has to be 4. And this is just to say, keep in mind, when people are bidding or companies are bidding projects, sometimes it can be 2 companies. Sometimes if it's a curriculum project, it can go up to 70, 80, 90 companies. So it's not necessarily an easy task for our purchasing team to reach back out and get the documents that are needed. So you may become non-compliant if you don't provide those documents as requested when you're submitting the bid. Also, late proposals. I'm sure a lot of you have probably been to Hattie Mae White and understand the traffic and everything that's going around as far as construction. So we want to make sure that if your proposal is due on Tuesday at 10 in board services, that you are there with plenty of time to avoid the traffic, to sign in at the front desk, to provide your ID, and then go into board services. Because if you are in the building, but you don't make it to get your project stamped by board services, then you're non-compliant. They actually won't even take it. So just keep that in mind. You put a lot of effort in preparing these proposals. So we want to make sure that you have the adequate amount of time so that you can submit them and that they are accepted. And lastly, I'm going to go over how to stay connected. These are the steps to go through HoustonISD.org under business assistance and join our mailing list. So this mailing list is very specific to supplier diversity business assistance. So when you're registering and following these steps, and I highly recommend that you do if you're not already registered, This is going to give you general information within supplier diversity. So it's going to give you one email on Mondays with bid opportunities. It's going to give you any networking events that are coming up, expos, workshops, which we provide monthly. So this is where you want to register. If you haven't already, please take the time to go on to the internet, make sure you're on our mailing list so that you get all of our information. And just know that this is generic because in the purchasing services PowerPoint presentation that Enrique is going to cover, he also has a section that's similar to this, but that's for purchasing services. We recommend that you register on both sides, so supplier diversity and purchasing services. And listed on the screen is our contact information. On the team, we have 2 supplier diversity specialists. We also have 2 analysts, and then we all report to our Officer of Business Logistics and Purchasing Services, which is Ms. Alexis Licata. Our contact information is listed here. Again, our department is here to help you. We want to make sure that you understand the process, that our documentation isn't what's holding you up, and that if you have any questions, that you reach out to us so that we can help you. So please don't hesitate. And I want to thank MBDA for having us today. I should have probably said that at the very beginning, but we are very excited to be here and to have this presentation. And thank you to our partners for doing workshops and events like this, especially during COVID and the pandemic, where we're all trying to adjust. So I am going to open it up. I don't know, Gabriela, if you're going to switch it over to Enrique or if we're going to open it up to questions.
I think there's some questions that are pertinent to Yesenia. So, Gabriela, I know we had planned on doing Enrique first, but could we insert some Q&A here?
I think you're on mute, Gabriela.
Sure, let's do a couple of them, Monk. I mean,
okay.
Well, it's hot, so because I know Enrique is going to get a lot of questions.
Yeah, exactly. So Shauna Holt asks, first of all, do you accept self-certs and hub zoned? And I'm guessing the answer is no. Is that right, Yesenia?
Correct. So the certifications are listed because we are a minority and women-owned business program. We only accept those certifications. So with the city, either you're an MBE or WBE. With HMSDC and WBEA, you're minority or women. So we do not accept hub. We do not accept DBEs or SBA certifications at this time.
And then her other question is, I'm registered, this is a good question, but I'm not sure I have been approved as a vendor.
Okay, so if you registered, when we say registered, you're registering in multiple ways. So you're registering with Supplier Diversity, and that's only to get emails. So you're not an approved vendor if you just joined our mailing list. Also, if you registered on the purchasing services side, again, that doesn't automatically make you a vendor. So you'll have to go through the process. There's going to have to be a bid opportunity available that fits your scope of work. You would have to bid the project. You would have to make that short list, and then you would have to go through the board as far as a recommended awarded vendor. It would have to be approved. And then you would know that you're officially an approved vendor. Once it goes to the board, it's approved, then you get that contract from purchasing services. But Enrique will also be speaking a little more to that.
So, and then I have one question I want to answer before we move on to Enrique. Will we get a copy of the slide? I was not able to catch important info. Yes, everyone who's registered for this webinar will get a copy of the PowerPoints. So yes.
And email's the best way to communicate because we are currently still working remotely from home. We'll go into the office as needed, but email is probably the best way to contact us and reach us at this point.
So, Gabriela, I'm going to go back to you because I think the other questions might be answered by Enrique.
Yes, and I also have some questions that people have sent to me directly, but I think I want to wait for Enrique because since there are a lot of questions about procurement, I think he'll he'll answer some of them. If not, we'll go over again the questions at the end of this seminar. Don't worry, people, we do have time. So without further ado, Enrique, it's your turn.
Thank you, Gabriela.
We can barely hear you, Enrique.
Okay. Let me know if it's better.
That's better. Thank you.
Okay. Again, thank you so much for inviting us. We really are thankful that we're able to have these opportunities to engage with the vendor community. And so I do appreciate it. And just to go over some of the information, I know Yesenia presented at a glance, but the way I like to look at this slide and people that are viewing the presentation is how many contracts are out there, right? How many really opportunities are there for me? So based on the size of the district, we currently have anywhere around 2,500 to 3,000 contracts currently awarded. So those are 3,000 opportunities, right, to engage with the vendor community. So I always like to speak to in terms of the volume, right? How many opportunities are out there? So we procure everything for the district from a pencil all the way to the building. So just consider all the types of services that are in between that service the needs of administrators and campuses and staff, right, and students. So everything in between, right? So just consider all those opportunities that are out there for the vendor community. Can I have the next slide, please? Just as an overall mission, I like to share that the mission of the HIC Purchasing Services Department is to ensure the uninterrupted flow of goods and services needed to efficiently operate the district's costs effectively and achieve the district's primary goal, which is to increase student achievement, right? So everything we do surrounds around student achievement and having that overall reach and goal in helping students achieve educational their educational needs. Can I have the next slide? Here we have all our spend categories, right? We have 150 different spend categories. The major categories that we have are obviously construction. Like Yesenia said, we are wrapping up the bond program, but we still have ongoing renovation, maintenance of schools. So we have a lot of contracts dealing with facility maintenance, M&O, warehouse operations, transportation, and I spoke to campuses, right? All the instructional supplies, technology, health and medical right now is big. Furniture, athletics programs, cafeteria services, food purchases, and equipment, right? Overall for the district. So there are many different spend categories that you can align your business to our needs. Can I have the next slide? So just to go overall, when do we need to procure? Because one of the most frequently asked questions is, why do you even do this, right? Why do we have to go through the bid process? So all our expenditures over 50,000 require us to do a competitive bid. Texas Education Code requires if we're expending federal state funds, it has to go through a competitive process, right? We want to ensure that we're getting the best value for the district, right? So by law, we are required to put out bids and have vendors respond. Now, a lot of people don't realize how long it takes because sometimes when you're coming from the perspective of an outside vendor that does business in general, you're thinking as a bid as 3 quotes, right? Or you're turning in a quote. This is really a bid process. It's a very drawn out process because we have to complete a lot of sections that are required by law. So the general timeline, when you see a bid opportunity come up, it takes around 90 to 120 days for you to finally see an award. So it is a long process. It's a very planned process. So just be aware that um, it's not really a quote process. It's more like a formal submitting a proposal that has a lot of information included. And the different types of bids that we generally use at HISD would be a request for proposal, a request for qualifications, a CMAR, construction manager at risk, and a competitive sale proposal. These are the most common, but I'll give you more information as we move forward as to the different types and how you could go about looking at those proposals. Can we have the next slide, please? So the another frequently asked questions that we get is, how am I going to be evaluated, right? So they're trying to gauge how do I know that I'm submitting a good proposal, or what do I have to consider? When you're submitting a proposal, make sure that you're addressing all these types of criteria that we're asking. By law, we have to evaluate proposals following all these steps, right? So purchase price, at a minimum, we are counting 30%, the price quoted, right? So it's very important for you to consider what type of discount or what type of price are you offering HISD. The reputation of proposers and their products. So we might be asking you for references, or we might be asking you for samples. So make sure that you're reading the proposal very carefully and making sure that you're answering the questions and submitting what's required. Yesenia made some comments regarding this, but I think it's very important, especially I see it in references. Whenever you're listing your references, make sure that you talk to them prior to putting their name down. Because a lot of times what happens is that we reach out to them and then they don't respond back. So you might want to engage with them and ask them, hey, I'm going to list you as a reference. Will you be willing to answer on behalf of my experience with you? So you can ensure that you have enough points. You never know how the evaluation team is going to evaluate these areas. So you want to make sure that you're completing a solid proposal. So like Yesenia said, MWE is 10% minimum, right? That you could get points for. So you want to make sure to complete the paperwork. This is required paperwork. So if you do not submit the paperwork, your proposal is going to be disqualified. So all these areas are very important for you to address. Some people say, well, I don't have a past relationship with the district. Well, it doesn't matter if you directly don't have a past relationship with the district, but maybe um, one of your employees that is serving as a project manager worked for another company that had direct contact with HISD. You want to make sure to include that information in your proposal. So this can be considered, right? It doesn't mean that you're going to get the points, but this might have an evaluator thinking, well, but I see that this person worked at, with HISD when they're with somebody else. So you maybe want to include the resumes of the people that are going to work on your team, right? So you want to make sure that you're trying to address every one of these evaluation criteria because it's going to be important in terms of points and in terms of your evaluation. So think about the long-term cost is also important. If there's any long-term costs for doing business, let's say your first year for the products and services is this much, and then it's going to increase 25% year 2, year 3. That is also going to be taken into consideration. So you want to be careful when developing your proposal. So be mindful that all these things are considered. The section regarding the principal place in Texas is something that's no longer considered because we spend a lot of federal funds. However, we still have to state it in our proposals. That is a section that is not considered anymore, but like I said, you will see it in your proposal. And there might be other factors that are included in the way your proposal is evaluated. that may be listed. So just take into consideration all those factors. Can I have the next slide, please? So one of the most exciting things that we have right now going on is Ionwave. We are switching over to electronic bidding. So make sure to visit our website, visit purchasing on HoustonISD.org. This also is a direct link that will take you to the registration process. This will be used when you do this, you will get notified of bid notices, right? So you will be selecting only those commodities that you offer. So if you're in the realm of construction, all you need to click on is the commodities related to construction. That way, you're not getting bid notices for things that you do not offer. So this will automatically send an email to the user who registered of what solicitation is on there. And moving forward, in the next 6 months, the RFP process will be electronic. We are moving in this direction. So your RFP will look like an application process, like when you're applying for a job. So we are moving away from paper bids, but make sure that you are registered to receive bid notices, because once you are registered, once you log in, it'll take you directly to the bid. All the information that you need is there. It's electronically. You will be able to fill it out and it will be complete and submit it electronically. Can I have the next slide, please? And if you want to look at current bids, you want to go to HoustonISD.org, click on Directory, Purchasing Services. You will be able to see current bids. Anything that's available, you will be able to see it. You could also go to Ionwave and there's a little section or a hero that says current bids. It'll take you here. So if you want to look at those current bid opportunities, and what I always encourage vendors to do is look at different bid opportunities, even if they don't relate to you, because more than likely the requirements are going to be similar in terms of insurance requirements, in terms of the way it looks. And I think it serves a purpose for you to feel comfortable in looking at the documentation and becoming familiar. So when that opportunity does come, you kind of answer your own questions, you've reached out to us, you become more knowledgeable in terms of what you're going to have to do when your opportunity comes up. Can we have the next slide? And once you click on that notice, it will give you all the documentation that's on there that's required. So make sure, like Yesenia said, read over all the information, make sure that you're looking at every piece of the documentation and it's completed in its entirety, because it's many of the times we get incomplete proposals and they're just disqualified. And if you've been waiting for some time to submit a proposal and then you forget to submit something, you may be deemed unresponsive. So please make sure that you're attending the pre-proposal meetings, you're asking questions, and you have a complete bid. Can we have the next slide? Just review your documentation, make sure to register on the system. Many times we get vendors saying, I didn't know that there was a bid out there. Well, there's no way of us notifying you if you're not registered. The system automatically, when we put out a bid, it will send a bid notice based on the commodities that we selected that fall under that bid. So if you're not registered on Ionwave, you will not receive a bid invitation notice. So it's very important that you list as many users as you want. We don't allow for duplicate registrations, but you can have multiple users. That way, it's yourself and maybe your partner in the company, or everybody in the company. You could register up to 20 people if you want, for them to receive a notice when there's a bid out that falls under your category. So be mindful of the supplier diversity requirements. That is not optional, it's a requirement. Your proposal will be disqualified. Insurance is another disqualifier. If you're not able to get the insurance requirements, your proposal will not be submitted for a board consideration, board approval. And then just the deadlines, like Yesenia said, many times we experience throughout the year vendors that have been vendors for us for 10 years, and they submitted a late bid. And unfortunately, we cannot accept late proposals. So just consider submitting your proposal beforehand so you don't encounter that issue. We have the next slide. And then just policies and procedures. Never do business with HISD without a purchase order. Just because you have a vendor number doesn't mean that you're an approved vendor. So there might be some discretionary funds that sometimes schools can use for student activity funds or things of that nature. They're discretionary funds. They're very small in nature. So just because you have a vendor number and somebody paid you before doesn't mean that you're an approved vendor. So just to play on the safe side, make sure you always have a purchase order before delivering products or services. And all vendors do require board approval. If you need to reach out to us, we have the leadership team, which is Alexis, myself, and then Christina Jackaman, Demetria Thomas, Juana Pleasant, and Paul Young are all category managers. They each specifically manage different types of commodities, but you could reach out to any of them and we should be able to answer questions that you might have. Like Yesenia said, we're here to help. We want to make sure that you're successful in your process, and we're here to be able to assist you.
Well, thank you, Enrique. And Yesenia, I think we're going to start now with the Q&A. Is that correct, Mark? Oh, you're on mute.
Oh,
Okay, I just unmute you.
okay. Yes, ma'am. So we often are asked by the primes to submit a subcontracting documentation, but they seldom call us to do the work. They use us to get the job with no intention to subcontract with us. How do you track this?
Okay, that sounds like a supply diversity question. So a couple things. When a prime is bidding a project and they are selecting the subcontract, there is required paperwork as part of that process. So if they're subcontracting, they're required to submit a subcontractor plan, which lists all of the subcontractors that they plan to use. And then there's a subcontractor agreement that needs to be signed by the prime and the subcontractor. And so that's a signed document. It tells us the percentage that you're subcontracting at. It also goes through the scope of work. Keep in mind, if you can have, anywhere from 1 supplier to 70 suppliers bidding a project. So what we do as part of our verification process is when we get the MWBE documentation to evaluate, if you are truly listed on their plan and there is a subcontractor agreement, our department reaches out to you and we are verifying that, one, you did sign the document and that you agree to the scope of work and the percentage that's listed. So you'll hear from us in the pre-awarded area, but then let's say you are awarded. If you're officially awarded, our system in B2G sends automated emails. So once it's approved through the board, it goes into our B2G system, the compliance system online. And what happens is we're going in and putting in the prime, the percentage that they're subcontracting at and listing the subcontractors. So you get an automated email that says, this prime was awarded, you were listed as a subcontractor, this is the percentage, this is the scope of work. And so we start tracking. A couple things to keep in mind when you are awarded or not awarded. As the district does business, we do it directly with the prime. So questions that you may have, you can reach out to our department, and depending how the paperwork comes in is how we are able to respond. Just because someone is on a project does not guarantee business. So you also have to keep that in mind. Some projects are awarded to one vendor, some projects are awarded to 70. So again, that doesn't guarantee you business. But the compliance piece helps us monitor that, because if you are listed as a subcontractor, the prime is putting in how much the district is paying them and how much they're paying you as their sub. So as a subcontractor, you have you should be going into the compliance and signing off. If you are getting paid, you're checking the amounts, you're making sure they're accurate and correct, and you're signing off. If there are any issues, there's an area where you can contact us, or check off a little column that says this doesn't match what I was paid, and then you can call us directly and we can have that conversation. But that's how we monitor subcontractors. But again, just pay close attention. If you're signing a subcontractor agreement and you're listed on a plan, they still have to be awarded, because not everybody that bids a project is awarded. So you may have been on a prime's documentation, but maybe that prime wasn't selected to move forward, and they didn't end up being an awarded vendor.
I am already an approved vendor and I want to provide services other than what I'm approved for. What is that process?
I'm going to let Enrique answer that one, because you do have to bid within your scope of work.
Correct. And if you're not approved for the products and services that you offer, maybe there's another RFP for that you need to submit a bid for. So what I always ask vendors to do is I encourage them to go back to their registration and make sure that they have selected all the commodities that they're able to offer during the registration process, because that will allow them to get notices if something comes up. But if they're awarded, let's say, um, printing services, right, and then they want to offer instructional materials, that's a completely different bid. So without having the details, that's what I would tell them. If it's not within the scope of the project that they were awarded, they have to make sure to select all the commodities when they're registering on Ionwave. It's a process that they could go back and fix and correct and make changes as they see fit.
Okay.
Just keep in
Yeah.
mind, when you're awarded a project, you're awarded that particular project and that scope of work. So being awarded doesn't mean you're awarded in general for everything. It just means that specific project.
I know for sure that the service I provide is not currently under any RFP ever requested by the district. How do I go about submitting an unsolicited proposal for a totally new idea?
So we have site-based decision making. So that's a difficult question to answer, because we purchasing doesn't make those decisions, right? Those, though, like for example, when we do an RFP, right, it's something that was requested by a stakeholder, right? It might have been a campus, it might have been a division of the district that is requesting us to do a proposal. So, for example, in this case, let's say it was something having to do with records management, right, or HR. They would have to reach out to the HR representatives and see if they have an interest in what they're selling or what they're wanting to do, and then we would determine. They would reach out to that specific department would reach out to us and say, hey, can we purchase this? And we would say, no, we already have something under that commodity that is over 50,000. It has to go through a bid, and that's how it works. But it's site-based decision making, so every department and campus makes their own decisions in terms of what they want to buy.
Mhm.
Okay. I am approved to provide enrichment instruction, but there is a school asking us directly to help them develop a curriculum for their Spanish program.
I would ask them to reach out to Miss Thomas, Demetria Thomas, um, just to see what it falls within the scope. because that's closely related, but I don't want to misspeak and say no. Miss Thomas, Demetra Thomas, she will be able to provide, if you give her the details of which project you're awarded on, if she will be able to give more guidance in terms of that, because there's so many proposals and scopes within curriculum and instruction that I want to make sure that we're giving you the right information. That's
And
very
actually,
specific.
thank you, Enrique. And actually, in the PowerPoint, Enrique put Demetra Thomas' email address. So make sure to get this email. Is dthoma30@houstonisd.org. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay, I'm a certified MBE subcontractor and work often under prime contractors in HISD. Do I need to register with HISD as a vendor to work directly?
So if there's a RFP or a project that you're interested in, then you could bid as a prime to self-perform. If that's what you're wanting to do, then you just need to fill out the documentation as such. So you would actually be doing the entire RFP and completing the documentation that way. Whereas if you're a subcontractor, you're not submitting the RFP proposal documents. You're just on the MWBE portion that lists you as a subcontractor. So you can self-perform as an MWBE or you can subcontract. Both options are available.
This question's a little confusing to me, but I think I understand it. She's an approved vendor with all certifications, but and was up for renewal and decided not to renew her certifications. Can I still do it? So it sounds like what I'm not understanding, if she wants to be an approved vendor with her certifications, or if she wants to re-pursue her certifications. I'm
I
not.
think she may be, sorry, I think she may be asking because certain certification with HMSCC, they expire every year. So the question is, if the certification is expired, can they still use that certification?
Okay, so for each project, as you are awarded, we evaluate every year. So we're looking at renewals. So when your contract is up, what we do is at the end of the year, we're verifying a couple things on the MWBE side. If you're if you're a prime and you subcontracted, committed to subcontracting, we're looking at, did you meet your goal? Where did you come in? And are your subcontractors still certified? If you're telling me that you're an MWBE, you're certified, and you were awarded a project, meaning that you're a prime, and you bid the project as a certified MWBE, and that's how you went to the board. But here we are at the end of the contract, and we're looking at the renewal, and you're no longer certified, then you'll hear from our department, and we'll have to look at the paperwork again, because if you're no longer certified and don't have that intent to continue to be certified, then we're going to have to look at the paperwork so that you can select a different option. Because when you're looking at the supplier diversity paperwork, there's 4 options. You're a nonprofit, you're a certified MWBE, you're subcontracting at the district school, or you have the good faith effort. So if your status changes throughout your contract, awarded contract, then more than likely you'll hear from our department and to work with you to get new documentation.
This question, I think, was asked before Enrique's presentation. I'm at Russell and Smith dealership. How do I do business with HISD? I think you'd review the PowerPoint that Enrique presented, and then if you have questions after that, you would direct it to the team. What are the chances for new small businesses to get a project, become a vendor?
So from the MWBE side or a small business side, we understand that the process could be difficult or seem difficult just because of the amount of information that you're submitting in a proposal. But just keep in mind, don't get discouraged. Continue to bid the projects. Enrique went over through all of the criterias of what's needed to do a proposal. What I tell people is if you're a small business, everybody's submitting the same documentation. Everybody goes through an evaluation committee. Everybody has the same scores and the ability to get the same amount of points. So if you're a small business, I would say a small business or even a certified business, I would say take a step back, look at your business as a whole, and understand that the district is very large. I would highly encourage, if there's not a project out there that meets your scope of work or what the product or service that you provide, still go online, look at what's currently listed as a bid opportunity, and take the time to understand what the district is seeking when you bid a project, because there are insurance requirements, there is bonding requirements, there's experience that we're asking for. So keep that in mind. And try, don't get discouraged if you submit the proposal and maybe don't get it on the first time. Put it on your calendar so you're prepared to bid the next time it goes out. Also, reach out to purchasing services and see if they can provide any feedback on your proposal. Reach out to our department, see if there's any feedback on supplier diversity. But yes, there's that opportunity to bid as a prime if you're a small business. But again, everybody's submitting the same documentations. The criteria is the same. I would just say, look at your business as a whole, understand what the district is asking, and see if it's something that you're able to provide and handle and take on.
Next question, I think I can answer. Whom do I contact at HISD about their real estate acquisition needs? Wouldn't the answer be you'd wait for an RFP to roll out around real estate acquisition?
Correct.
Okay.
Those would all be handled as bid opportunities in an RFP process.
Okay. Then again, people are asking about the copy of the presentation. Everyone will get a copy of the presentation. I shouldn't allow my irritation to show through. What process can we start doing today to become a vendor prior to bidding? That's a good question.
So as I mentioned previously, the first step would be to register as a prospective vendor. Filling out that information completely and being very selective about the commodities that you're choosing. Because I think a lot of the things that we see, unfortunately, is people are registering for everything. And then it doesn't become very useful for you if you're constantly getting emails and those bids don't relate to the products and services that you offer. So I think step number one is register to receive bid notices that apply to you, so you can start looking at those opportunities. I always encourage people to look at our current bid opportunities and go over the supplier diversity paperwork. Look at our insurance requirements. Go and talk to your insurance company and say, what would it cost me to get this type of insurance, right? So you are prepared to understand what is going to be required, right? Because the paperwork for MWBE, it doesn't change. It doesn't change often. So that's something that you could already start doing or working on, and it will give you insight of the requirements. Because then submitting a proposal, without even a bid coming out, you can already create a proposal, right? It's basically you could have it on hand, waiting, ready to go, right? And then making it better right before it leaves, right? But I think that all these things can be done prior to. So I always encourage vendors to look at the paperwork, even if it doesn't pertain to the products or services that they're necessarily offering, just so they speak to their insurance, they look at the supplier diversity program and say, is this something that I can do?
Okay. The next question. Enrique, can you clarify what you said would be considered non-responsive during the RFP bidding process?
So a late proposal would be considered non-responsive, even if it's a minute late. Simply, we're not allowed to accept late bids. So if you don't comply with the paperwork, supply diversity paperwork, we are simply not going to consider your proposal. So if Yesenia does not give me a memo saying I was able to score this company and gave them 1 to 10 points, whatever it was, that vendor will not move forward. Insurance is another piece. If you're not able to get the insurance accord that is required, you will not be considered. Even if your proposal was recommended, right? If you do not have the insurance requirements or meet the diversity paperwork requirements, your proposal will not be completed, will not be submitted to the board for approval. So those obviously a non-responsive proposal would be if I had, for example, a juice bid, right? It was a juice bid for the district-wide juice, and somebody proposed water, and obviously that's out of scope. So we didn't consider that proposal because we were trying to, if it's out of scope, if you're trying to bid something that's not part of what was asked, it's just not in the competitive range. It's not within the scope of work that was asked. So that might also cause your proposal to be disqualified.
Okay, great. I registered as a vendor in April. It appears that my registration was never verified. How can I remedy this issue?
So you could go and log back onto your account, and there, if you forgot your password, there's a recovery password that you could click on. You have to confirm your email. So if you didn't go back, once you register, it'll send you an email to your email that you registered under, and it'll ask you to confirm it and help you complete the registration process. If you didn't complete the whole registration process, you need to start all over. But you should be able to log into your account currently and continue that process. It'll just say send another reminder email. And then you have to go back to your email to make sure that you use a legitimate email.
So the Vihal was the one who asked about the certifications. Actually, she didn't renew with HISD, but she wants to do so again. So does she just start the process over?
So HISD is not a certifying agency. We accept certifications.
No, she has her certifications. She essentially, from what I understand, didn't renew as a vendor with HISD. So does she start from scratch, or how does that go?
So from the MWBE side, you're just going to register. I would recommend that you just join the mail list as well as purchasing services and go from there.
Does HISD have smaller spot bids that are under 50K? If so, where can I find them?
So, like you think, I think explained this earlier, we really don't have anything under 50 because we already spend in that category, most categories more than 50,000. We have 150 spend categories, but there's very little that we don't spend $50,000 on. So there isn't, we don't have those, right? basically when somebody wants to buy something and let's say it's an extreme exception, like um, somebody wanted to clean a fish tank, right? So we do have quite a bit of fish tanks. So we allow them to use a 3-quote process because there's very little fish tanks, so we don't spend 50,000 on fish tank cleaning supplies or equipment. But that is a category of the district, but it's only our categories. We have 150 spend categories, and if your spend category has already reached 50, we're going out for bid. But that usually comes as a request from a school saying, "I really need this," right? Um, but we don't have anything available where okay, these are under 50. We need somebody to we the schools and departments reach out to 3 vendors if it's under 50. But again, it's site-based decision making.
Here's a very pertinent question. A listing of upcoming bid opportunities prior to the bids going out.
We don't have that. It's not publicly available. But if
Okay.
you have any questions related to that, and you could always reach out to one of the department managers to help you. They can assist you and tell you kind of where we're at in the process. All our contracts are 1-year contract with 4 renewals. Some of them do have supplemental bids. So even though it's a 1-year contract with 5 renewals, we have different bid opportunities throughout the year. So depending on what it is, I would just reach out to somebody in management and ask them, this is this is the products and services that I offer. Do you have an idea when is the next bid opportunity that's coming up related to that? But we don't have a public, um, I guess, roster of bids.
We manufacture a unique specialty signage project, and it doesn't exactly fit into the commodity codes. How do we get in front of the people who would review our product as a novel approach to signage?
So, so signage is something that we do have a bid out for. Um, and so we do have bids for that type uh, of supplies. But again, it's site-based decision making. So every school decides which vendor they want to use, right? If you're talking a district-wide initiative for signage, like you want to provide signage district-wide, that would have to be somebody in facilities and construction. It would have to be somebody in that area that would have an interest in kind of doing signage for the entire district if that's the intention. But if it's small in nature and you're trying to offer these services to schools, it's those principals that are making that decision. It's not pushing products to the schools. It's the schools choosing how they want to spend their money with who. But it seems to me that the project that they're talking about is more the district-wide initiative, and that would be somebody in our facilities and construction department doing outreach through them. They also have websites that you could go to and try to reach out. And it's basically a sales pitch, like in any other industry. You just need to reach out to them and see if there's an interest. Purchasing services does not make purchasing decisions. We're a compliance cost center. So our job simply is to make sure that we're in compliance with Texas Education Code and that we're overseeing that the vendors are approved for what they submitted a proposal for, but purchasing services does not make purchasing decisions. It's all coming from schools and departments as requests.
Is there a preferred approval, WBEA or City of Houston, or is there no preference? I think that's a good question for Yesenia. You're muted, Yesenia.
I just unmuted her. Go ahead.
Okay.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, is there preferred approval, WBEA or City of Houston, or is there no preference?
There's no preference. A certified MWBE is a certified MWBE as long as it's with one of the agencies that the district accepts.
Okay, and with that, oh, here we go. We offer surface protection and disinfectant. Looking over the codes, it seems like the closest codes relate to janitorial services. How can I be sure to have included the right product codes to ensure I get a bid request? Good question.
That's going to be janitorial services and health and medical supplies.
Okay. Fair.
I actually have a question for the ISD team. So I've noticed that people have to register. Some people say, I have signed up on Ionwave. How do I look for available bids? And also, while we were looking at ASD, you need to log into purchasing services to register. Business need to do that. They also need to do register through the mailing list to get the information, and also they need to register through Ionwave. Is that correct? Am I getting a little bit confused with so many places they need to register as?
So Yesenia has a registration portal for supply diversity events, right? And she also sends bid notices as a courtesy.
Okay.
But if you're looking for networking opportunities, anything of that nature related to supply diversity, you need to register on the list that she shared. The only place that you need to register if you want to receive bid notices for HISD that pertain to the commodities and services that you offer is by you registering on Ionwave. That is where you will be notified on your email of any opportunities related to the products and services that you offer. But if you notice and go back, you see the little heroes at the bottom where right now on the tab it says current bids. If you click there, it will take you to our HISD website and show you the list of available bids. Right now, we're using Ionwave to register vendors for bid notices. We are moving to electronic proposals, but we are not there yet. But this system we are using to notify vendors by commodity. So if there's a bid out going tomorrow for construction, we're going to go to Ionwave, get anybody that registered under construction and send them a bid courtesy email saying, hey, there's a bid available, click here. In the future, that will be a system generated email. You will click on it, register, and it'll take you directly to the bid.
There was a question that I neglected to ask. I want to ask for clarification. Oh, it just evaporated. It was about, do you require 500 employees? Oh, here, beg your pardon. I want to ask for clarification. Does your business have to have 500 employees to be considered or qualified?
No, and that's what I explained, that we have to list it because Texas Education Code says that it must be listed. But if you see here, it says the vendor or the vendor's ultimate parent company owner has a place in the state of Texas or has 500 people employed in the state. Because HISD spends a lot of federal funds, we do not award any points based on that. But the Texas Education Code says that you must include all the evaluation criteria. HISD never considers that a factor because you cannot give state preference for spending federal money, and we receive a lot of federal funds. So no, the short answer is no, we do not. That factor is of no importance to us.
can I offer a service that we think the district will benefit from, but there is currently no bid for?
They are more than welcome to reach out to the end user that they think that might be the appropriate user, but if not being an approved vendor, it's going to be very hard for them to again try to reach out to a person trying to. It's a sales pitch, right? So and you, if, assuming you're a non-approved vendor, so the easiest route is to go through a bid process. I'm going to be completely honest and straightforward with everybody in attendance. There are very few exceptions that we make for things that are to be purchased outside of a bid process. Very, very few exceptions. Unless the school is using money raised by students, it's that usually is the exception. The students have raised money and they want to use a vendor to attend a conference or do a prom event or buy flowers for an event for your prom, things of that nature. But it's going down the wrong rabbit hole trying to offer products and services to schools and departments if you're not awarded a bid. I would closely match my registration with the products and services that you offer and try to go through the bid process. Once you're approved, then you could reach out to schools and departments and say, "Hey, I'm an awarded vendor," and it's still a sales pitch because they still have to choose to buy your product.
If I want to collaborate with only specific schools, do I still need to go through your process?
Yes, every school and department must follow all the procurement guidelines. So no matter which school or department you're doing business with, they every vendor must be approved. Like I said, there's 3,000 vendors approved at any time, and they can only select out of those 3,000 vendors to do business with those vendors, unless, like I said, they're using their student activity fund, which is discretionary funds that principals can use. They're small amounts. Maybe in high schools there's a little bit more money, but if it's for a district or school-wide initiative, it's going to have to be through an approval process, a formal procurement process.
If we offer COVID cleaning, how can I get into the buildings now to market our services?
So currently, all PPE is being handled through state contracts. Right now, unfortunately, we don't have many of those opportunities available because we need to be able to react fast at the moment. We don't have RFPs. We currently have awarded bids on the health and medical supplies. HISD has already awarded contracts under health and medical supplies. So a lot of what you see that the district has purchased is through state cooperative contracts or contracts that have been already previously awarded by the Board of Education. Right now, we're in a reactive mode. We need to make sure that our supplies are on campuses, back in the schools. We're ready to go once we're ready to send students and staff back into the buildings. So we're going through that mode. I am sure that in the future we're going to put out a district bid for those services, but unfortunately, because they're in slow demand, high demand. Sometimes we're trying to purchase something and then 3 days later they're out of inventory, right? And we're having to react very quickly to get the products and services that we need. So we're not putting out any bids at the moment for that.
Is insurance required for vendors who never step on ISD campuses?
Yes, do you want to answer that? The answer is yes. You need insurance no matter what, but Yesenia, I don't know if you want to explain or elaborate on that.
So that's correct. The insurance requirements seldomly change. So you can easily go online to look at what the requirements are as far as insurance coverage. But yes, it's required across the board. And as Enrique mentioned, it's a hard stop. If you don't have the insurance, if you don't provide the insurance certificate, then you are considered non-compliant and you do not move forward in the purchasing services process.
So with that, I think we're done, Gabriela.
Yes, I mean, I'm sure we probably missed one here and there that I cannot think of, but I wanted to give a huge thanks to Yesenia and Enrique. I know Enrique was trying really hard working with his microphone to give us all the pertinent information. This PowerPoint will be sent to people who register within the next 24 hours, so please give us till tomorrow. I appreciate that. We're also gonna share the video recording, but Yesenia and Enrique, I mean, during this COVID time, we really appreciate you guys coming through, doing this online version. We had over 90 people attending at one time. We've had more than 45 Q&A that it was registered and people asking. And I really appreciate all your efforts. Thank you so much, Mark, for managing the Q&As, because I was getting even through my emails questions. So I appreciate this. And of course, I appreciate the Houston MBDA staff. For all those minority-owned business, if you want to become part of Houston MBDA, I encourage you to reach out to us. Our email is mbda@hccs.edu. One of our business advisor, Deidre, she actually wrote a guide to proposal writing, and one of the flaws we've noticed with our vendors that they don't read the entire RFP. So it was interesting to see the 5 mistakes you outlined, Yesenia. So thank you so much. I don't know if you guys have any other words you guys want to talk, or feel free.
Just thank you for having us. We appreciate it, and everybody stay safe. Thank you.